What I've come to recognize is that all of us want peace, but I think we don't know how to do it. I've been a psychotherapist in private practice for about 20 years, and I regularly witness people that come in that are eager for peace, but they don't know how to do it. And I have to admit, I didn't know how to do it either. I had a story that said something needed to change out there before I would feel peaceful inside. And so I lived much of my life that way. Unfortunately, as a result of the journey with my son, which I'll tell you about, I came to understand that I'm responsible. I'm responsible for peace. And so my hope is that I can help you to recognize your own responsibility for peace and for peacemaking, and then also know how to do that. My goal would be that all of you leave tonight with some ideas, some strategies, some insight about how you can move your life further along the direction of peace. I have to tell you, when I first came down the steps about half an hour ago and stood at the front, I had a recollection about the last time I was here. I did a talk for an organization called Silbury School, which is a private school here in Vancouver that works with exceptional children. And the principal of the school asked if I would come speak to the parents, and it was also a fundraiser. And the principal of the school has some of her own learning challenges. She has dyslexia. And so when she put out the notices for the event, she misspelled my last name on the notices. And so instead of putting Kuntz, which is how my last name is spelled, she had it as Knutz. And then when she went to introduce me to the audience that day, she looked at the sheet of paper with my name on it, couldn't remember how to spell or how to pronounce it, thought that maybe the K was silent. And so she introduced me as Ted Nuts. Now, some of you might think that about me by the end of the evening. I've given this message to a number of audiences across Canada in corporate and social service sectors. And what I can tell you is I generally get three kinds of responses to it, and I'll tell you what those are. There are usually a group of people that are excited by the ideas. They're eager to go play with them and see what difference it will make in their lives. And then usually there's a group of people that say to me something like, Ted, these are all old ideas. There's nothing new in what you've had to say. And then occasionally there's a group of people that says something like, Ted, it seems like you're from a different planet, and maybe you ought to go back to the planet you came from. And I think all those comments are fair comments. I think some of you will hear something exciting and you'll be inspired to go live life a little bit different than maybe you are. Some of you that are well-read and familiar with much of the self-help literature and the spiritual literature today will recognize that I haven't said anything new. And I haven't. If I've offered anything, what I've been told is that what I've done is that I've simply articulated the ideas, the ancient wisdom, in a language that makes it more available for people on a day-to-day basis. And so I hope I can do that for you. And then there are some people who think I am nuts, who think I do come from a different planet. And so if you're one of those, I'd like to offer a couple of words of advice. When I'm experiencing ideas that are new or different, I've come to recognize that there's richness in that new and different ideas. There's a couple of quotes that I like in particular, and one of them says that if you want something that you've never had before, you must be willing to do something that you've never done before. And so what that quote says to me is that sometimes we have to step into the unknown, into the unfamiliar, if we want to have a new experience. The other quote that I like is the definition for insanity. And the definition, maybe you already know it, is doing more of the same and expecting a different outcome. And in my counseling work, I meet many insane people. They're nice people, but they keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting something to change. What I've come to recognize is that all of us do the best job we can with the tools in our toolbox. The challenge of life is that we're born with an empty toolbox, not a full one. And some of us are fortunate that we have good teachers, good role models, good mentors that allow us to have many tools in our toolbox that allow us to be successful with the challenges of life. And then others of us are not quite so fortunate, and so we haven't had that richness of experience, we haven't had the mentors or the teachers, and so when we dip into our toolbox, it doesn't have what we need. And so what I've come to recognize is if the only tool in your toolbox is a hammer, you have to use the hammer, whether it works or not. I hope I'll give you some tools tonight that will allow you to be more successful with life. That's my intention for this evening. I'd like to begin by telling you a little bit about my story so that you know where the ideas came from that allowed me to be here this evening.